but the career that I had before, no. The career that I had before was totally, that's kind of gone. But
Yeah.
I understand about coming up with the words, and things like that. Especially when I'm tired, I see an issue like that.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Yep.
All right, we have Henry on. Hi, Henry.
Hey, Mike.
And Erin's on, but she's just listening. And we have a new person, Bridget, that just joined us. And of course, Henry is usually on our calls because on Tuesdays we have open mics, like support calls for brain injury survivors, or anybody for that matter, really. But primarily it's usually just survivors. And then on Thursdays, we have caregiver support meetings for caregivers. And then there's this one where this is like on a specific topic. And well, you obviously know about that because you saw it online. But yeah, we have this is the first and third Friday of every week, every month rather. See, I lost for words. If you have any questions, Bridget, there's always a calendar on our website. If you want to, I don't know, you had seen it or you have access to be able to write it down.
Okay.
It's ASBISG.org. /calendar. Did you get that, Bridget?
I can't write very well, so I didn't know if you can send it to me or not.
Yeah, I can.
Can you write at all, Bridget? Can you write at all, Bridget?
Can I write?
Yeah.
I can.
Yeah, at all.
I don't. I'm slow, and I can't. I misspell things, and it doesn't sometimes look like it's supposed to look.
Okay, so. You sound like me. You sound just like me. So if you need us to take our time, you need to communicate that.
Okay. Bridget, what's your last name? What's your last name again, so I could write it down?
Sure. Ruden, R-U-D-E-N.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'll message that to you, and I'll send it to you on Facebook.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. So Henry, you know the routine, but I'm waiting for more people to call in, and I've got a whole list of things I'm going to be going over. I didn't know if you saw that on Facebook.
Yes.
I've got a pretty big stack of things I'm going to be going over with about support services for caregivers, support for the survivors, and everybody coming together and kind of being able to communicate better, like key points that need to be made out. So,
yay!
If you don't mind me asking, Bridget, are you using a phone only?
Just a phone, yeah.
Okay. Can you write while you're on the phone or no?
Well, my husband is driving the car, so I'm too slow. Right, but I'm gonna have to drive here, so it's gonna be somehow whatever that's called put into our car. The car. Anyway.
Well, when they're not in the car, can you write?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sending you the message right now, Bridget, on Facebook. So that way you'll have it.
Thank you so much. are you all from New York?
Sort of. I used to live by Henry in New York, and I'm
am.
from New Jersey, and I've lived in Florida, so I've moved around quite a bit.
Yeah, I'm from New York.
Okay, I meant, yeah, because I'm from
Yeah,
Iowa.
I do
That's
from.
where I am.
Oh, you're
Iowa.
in Iowa?
Hmm.
Okay.
Oh, give me 1 second. Multitasking. Okay.
Hi, Aaron. I know you can hear me.
We have somebody with an iPhone. Give me 1 second, guys. I want to see who this is. We have somebody that just says iPhone. Who's this calling in? Can you hear me?
There's no one there, Mike.
Hello?
Now,
I know. Hold on.
no, now it's coming through.
No, hold on, Henry. Hello, we have a listener with it just says iPhone. Would you like to share who you are?
It's Tina.
Oh, it's Tina. Okay.
Yeah, I forgot to change that.
I got it. It'll show up in a second on here. Okay, there we
Is that Tina Farrell?
Nope.
Okay.
Tina, I know Henry's going to ask you, are you going to go on camera or no?
No.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, we have Henry, Tina, Erin, and Bridget on right now. But Erin's muted. When I get started, I give it about 15, 20 minutes and see how a couple, actually, it's only 8:15 now. But as I get more people on, then I'm going to mute everything. I'm going to go over some details of what we're going to talk about and take it from there. Linda. Now we got Linda's iPhone. Hi, Linda. Okay. All right. I'll just give it a second. Good. This is what I wanted to see tonight. So there's only one other person two, including my wife. Hopefully she calls in. And I'm also waiting. Hopefully Susan will make it. We have our regulars. So 1, 2 of them, well, including me, I guess I'm a regular. 3 of us are on that are normally on here often.
I don't, Aaron. I know you can hear us. Hello.
Hi, I am here. Hello.
How are you?
Oh, I'm fine. Sorry, you were muted because I'm listening. Using my listening ears.
Okay, what's new?
But I thought I'd pop in and say hi.
Hello. What's
Okay,
new?
I'm going back on mute now.
What's that?
I'm going back on mute now.
Okay.
Okay, but I am listening and I am watching.
Okay, thank you. Thanks. This is Linda Slattery.
Hi, everyone. I'm here.
Hi. I have the right Linda, right?
Yes, you do.
Okay, good, because the other Linda is my landlord.
Well, you can pay me the rent. I'll take it.
Too late. She already got that today.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. Very nice. So I want to make it clear now is that this call's not about just caregivers. This one's about caregivers and survivors. Most of you have seen the post I put on Facebook. This is about bridging the gap between caregivers and survivors. So I'm hoping to get some more. Well, Bridget's, you said that's your boyfriend or your husband? your significant other is in the car with him, with her right now.
Husband, Mike. She said it was a husband.
A husband. And I'm both a caregiver and a survivor, so I'm hoping we can get some more caregivers on here, and we can go over the details together. I just got added to another group today for caregiver support, which is good. So I'm working on that right now.
Mm-hmm.
And it starts getting that building up, which is awesome. And taking it one here. Seeing if I'm getting any more questions that people want to hear about. Like, so any questions about joining in and whatnot. So.
Where's Tina from?
I'm in Florida.
Okay. Oh, the Sunshine State.
Yeah.
And where you from, Linda, if you don't mind asking?
I am from Massachusetts, and we are in quite a cold spell right now.
Yeah, so will we out here. I'm in New York. Yeah, it's cold here too.
Yeah, Henry's in Staten Island, and I'm in Pennsylvania, and it's cold. It's cold.
Now, Bridget is in Illinois, correct?
Iowa.
But isn't that cold out there too?
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Erin's up in Canada. She's got the coldest weather right now. I know that for a fact. Tina's in Florida, which is lovely.
Mm-hmm.
We're all right now we're up on the northeast, so we're freezing our butts off right now.
Well, we had minus 30 with wind chill today. It was cold.
That's in Mount Pocono. Here in Mount Pocono, that's what it is right now.
Oh my God, it is freezing outside. We're setting record after record, and I'm staying put inside where it's warm.
Oh, and thanks for sharing, guys. It's headed up here to Massachusetts.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
Boston
really?
got hit bad. Yeah.
Oh, this whole
So
section from Canada to you guys in the States. Oh, it's freezing. Yeah, I can relate.
So it comes from Canada and comes here and then goes up to you.
Well, I'm in Toronto, Canada, and trust me, it is cold. Yeah, I would like to push it down south.
No, but I was asking Linda. Now, do they come here and they go to you, Linda? Is that how it works?
No, maybe it is coming down from Canada. And I've been up to Barrie before, so I know how bad it is up there.
Yeah, no, this whole thing that's going on right now came from the south and moved up north. It came northeast. It started it hit Florida first.
Yes, I know Florida has snow. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah. And I was laughing because my twin's down there, and he's telling me how cold it is. It was 45, and I'm like, dude, you got it easy. Go grab a shirt.
Right,
It's 5 degrees here.
Exactly. Yep.
All right, let's get the ball rolling here. So this is being recorded. I'm going to tell everybody that if everything goes well and we have a good conversation, it is saved, and I love posting it to help everybody in informing more people about it. So I'm going to read a little bit. If you guys want to, you could. Actually, we have we have people that are on, a lot of people on the phone. So just bear with me. If you want to chime in, just say excuse me or something like that, because I don't want to cut anybody off. So I don't know. I don't want to ramble either. So let's see what we got here.
Why can't I see you?
I could do that in a second. I guess I'll let it slide. No, I was eating before, so I didn't have my camera on, but you can. Okay, here we go.
That's better.
Okay. So tonight's call.
You approve? Is that approved now?
I'm sorry.
Is that approved now, whoever is asking?
Oh, that was Bridget.
Okay.
Was it Bridget? Who was that?
No, it could have been Bridget.
No.
Oh, it was Tina.
Yes, it's Tina.
Okay. Yeah,
So, Tina, how can you see him, but we can see you? Oh, are you on the computer?
No, I'm on my phone.
Yeah.
Okay,
All right,
but
let
how
me get
can
started.
you?
I don't want to get on
Michael.
a conversation about cameras. I want to
Okay, yeah, Mike.
stay on topic.
Sorry.
It's all right. So, again, tonight's conversation is about bridging the gap between caregivers and survivors, and of course, the number one key is understanding the brain injuries. I'm gonna really spell things out because this will be recorded, and I want to post this, so I want people to be well informed, even at a later time, to be able to know like what we're saying and understanding both sides later down the road. I'm going to start off about understanding brain injury. Brain damage involving frontal or temporal lobes of the brain, resulting confusion, memory loss, poor organizational skills, disinhibitions like impulse control, poor reasoning skills, and judgments, which can leave the individual, which can change an individual dramatically. And it's often very difficult for others to understand these changes. And that goes with family members, loved ones, old friends, all that kind of stuff. While like survivors in rehabilitation or a hospital setting, survivors are likely to have a rather busy and regimented schedule. But once they're home, this regimen will quickly cease, and the survivor may find themselves slipping into a place of isolation, depression, and loneliness. Those of us that are survivors understand this completely, because even if you have a house full of people, it still feels like nobody understands.
Correct.
It's important that family members, friends, and caregivers understand the individual does not want to feel or act differently than they did before the injury. The journey ahead can be a challenging one, and it may feel slow, but there's a few tips for all involved. This goes with caregivers, family members, loved ones, and survivors. Number one, be patient. Everybody's got to learn patience on each side of the equation there. Seek help from professionals, from other peers, support groups as we have, family members, etc. Another key thing, and this goes for both sides of the equation, and I preach about this to a lot of people, is keeping a journal. It's very, very beneficial to log things, both emotions and, of course, occurrences and things like that, so you know when things happen and it's not hearsay or just a perspective, and you'll forget. So if you have a journal, you'll always know, like, how things go, how things progress, not just how they fall apart or bad things, negativity, but even accomplishments, even small little tasks all make a difference. So keeping a journal or a little notebook handy is always beneficial for everybody. A big one too, and this is where there's a big hard part with survivors and caregivers, is expressing yourself. Of course, for survivors, expressing yourself and coming up with the right words can be hard, but that goes back to what I was saying about patience, because you need to be patient and the people listening need to be patient. But you both have to work together with expressing yourselves or your concerns or your frustrations or your good times, that's huge. So a big go between with that, like the next step, is asking the survivor questions. If a caregiver doesn't understand something, don't make assumptions. And don't assume that Don't assume that you know what's going to happen next, because you don't know what the survivor is thinking, what they're frustrated about, or what their emotions are. Ask questions. What's up? What's wrong? How are you? Do you agree with what I'm saying? Do you disagree with what I'm saying? And how can we move forward? And that leads to the last part here, which says keep each other involved in what's up. Let them know what's going on. Let them know how you're feeling, good or bad. You know, it's just like any other kind of relationship, to be honest with you. You make sure everybody communicates and builds together. Traumatic brain injury affects more than 2 million Americans every year, whether it's a child who's injured while playing sports, or an elder who has a severe fall, or even a veteran who's injured during combat. Survivors are faced with symptoms that affect them physically, mentally, and emotionally. Family caregivers play a vital role in shepherding the brain injury survivor through these life-changing ordeal. They act as advocates, care managers, spiritual counselors to help their loved ones cope with their condition that wounds not only the body, but the whole self, your being, everything about you. You know, us as survivors know what it's like to lose your self-esteem, your pride. You lost everything that you built your lives on, especially those of us that are adults and established a life for our own, and now you lost it. These are all notes that I'm reading that I took down. I was writing and reading and writing and thinking all day today, so it sounds like I'm reading. I am. I came up with 4 tips for caregivers of traumatic brain injury survivors. 1 is be informed but helpful about the full impact of brain injury. Even when your loved one's physical injuries heal, other deficits may remain because of the brain injury areas involving thinking and emotion. Those of us that are survivors and things like that understand. Oh, somebody just joined in. Oh, here we go. Okay, Crystal's on. Oh, she hung up. Okay. But I was going to say about frontal, I don't like the stereotype a lot, or this is a stereotype, but a lot of people think, and neurologists and whatnot believe, that frontal lobe damage is the ones where there's problems with speech and everything else, and confusion and coming up with the right words. But there are many, many of us that never had a frontal lobe injury that have a problem with those same things. So I want to make that clear. People with brain injuries may be more irritable, impulsive, disinhibited before the brain injury, and troubling family members and friends, and most of all themselves, with the nature of the magnitude of these changes, devastate all of them. So learn from medical professionals such as neurologists and psychologists what the impact of brain injury means for your loved one's personality. Learn from counselors, support groups, and your loved ones themselves how to accommodate these changes in personality while helping them hold on to the emotional and spiritual core of who they are. Sharing memories, love and laugh often, and stay hopeful. That's a big one. So that's just one tip. So
okay, now you were talking about the frontal lobe damage.
Yes.
Now, for the most part, all the things that you were saying that happens when you don't have the frontal lobe does also happen with the frontal lobe.
They do. That's why I was saying this. A lot of times that's a stereotype because I never had any frontal lobe damage.
Right.
But these same things that I was talking about that are common with frontal lobe injuries are common with all brain injuries. In my opinion, that's my opinion. Because then I think some of us can also understand that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, especially irritability, impulse control, and being bold and blunt and things like that. It might be a personality trait that contributes to it, but the brain injury itself enhances that.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Tenfold. That is the devil. I can vouch for that.
Yeah. All right, tip number 2. And this is, again, another one for caregivers, but those of us that are somewhat independent or almost fully independent with the brain injury, you'll see this as well. Explore options for home care and in-home rehabilitation. Because of lingering problems with memory and planning, your loved one may have trouble living independently after the injury. These problems may be as subtle as forgetting keys, which we were just joking around about, or glasses, or as dangerous as leaving the stove on or a door unlocked. Home care and in-home rehabilitation can help your loved one adapt to changes in memory and planning. You should call their insurance company to ask about arranging home care and home rehabilitation so a professional can help them plan and implement strategies that best accommodate these changes. This is another thing where family members is a big one. And a lot of times that's neglected by other families because families and friends often become so self-absorbed in what they've got going on in their lives that they forget about the needs of the survivor that needs the help. Or also the caregiver, when you have one caregiver taking care of the person with a brain injury at home, that caregiver needs help.
Yes.
And they need some time. Everybody needs a time to just clear their own head and some time to themselves. So that's where family and friends going, dude, can you give me one night? You know, are you busy Friday? Are you busy on a Tuesday? You know, you can just cover me for a couple hours so I can have a night with my significant other. Or I can just have a night to clear my head.
Mm-hmm.
So that leads us to tip number 3. And that's get help from friends and family. Brain injury is so overwhelming for you and your loved ones to suffer alone. Reach out to family and friends for help. Use our website to find care local in your area. That's ASBISG.org. There's contact information there. There's also us who can, if you reach out to us, we can supply you with other resources that are local in your area that may be able to help you out. And that's what we do as far as advocating and trying to find more help for others. Social media, as we all know, most of us are on Facebook, and that's why you called in. Social media can be used to chronicle the journey, letting friends and family celebrate successes and provide consultation when things get difficult. That's exactly what we're at. And number 4 is a big one, and that's preparing for a lifelong journey. There's a lot of different levels of brain injuries, and there's high functioning, low functioning, middle of the road. You know, physical rehabilitation sometimes is good, all of them. Some are good and some will progress and some won't. This is who you are for the rest of your life. You need to either, you need to accept it and you need to move forward. Taking a long-term view of brain injuries means acknowledging the impact may be lifelong. Connect with community organizations such as a Brain Injury Alliance or the Brain Injury Association in your state and ASBISG.org to offer a helpline and educational sessions on coping, as well as our support groups. Regular attendance of a support group is an important help for adjusting to the lifelong consequences of brain injury. That's why we do weekly calls instead of once a month calls. We have brain injuries. I mean, we don't know what, scheduling is an issue, and you can't remember what you were talked about a month ago, and most doctor visits, if you're lucky, you might get once a month, to see a medical professional. In the meantime, you need to collaborate with other survivors, and support services on a weekly basis is what we do. And even these things like I'm talking about now, where there's life-changing events that happen after the brain injury, well, you need somebody to talk to and vent about. And you have something in a journal you want to discuss because it's something big that's on your mind. You do that. You reach out to us. You seek out counseling with a therapist, whether it's a peer counselor or another medical professional who's familiar with adjustment issues and as it pertains to the survivors and the family. This way, when challenges arrive, you'll have a toolkit of strategies and ways to understand brain injury symptoms, especially as they affect your loved one's personality. For example, therapists can help you refrain from outbursts or hurtful comments. This is even for caregivers. A caregiver can a caregiver can get help so a caregiver can refrain from outbursts or hurtful comments as simple symptoms of the injury and not make personal attacks. This will make coping easier and promote positive growth for both the caregiver and the survivor. Brain injury is challenging enough and heartbreaking, but also a unique opportunity to guide a loved one back to health and to reconnect them to faith, family, and the things that matter most. And that's companionship. That's what all of this is about, is living a life of love and positive growth for the survivor. And I would hope for the caregiver as well, because they're doing it for next to nothing. So it's equally as important.
Mm-hmm.
Did we lose somebody here? Oh, I guess.
No, they looks like Bridget muted or unmuted. That happened.
So anybody have any questions about the board? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Henry.
No, it's saying Bridget back on. Now we lost Aaron.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Oh, no. Aaron's on. There's still 6 people on. This is cool. Does anybody have any questions or comments about the things that I was discussing about the 4 tips for caregivers and brain injury survivors? If I can
this is Linda. I do. The problem that I'm having is when this first happened, I had a lot of support. But as time goes on, I've noticed that people have lost patience, lost contact. You know, I think they think at this point I should be better, but I'm not, and I don't know how to get that point across.
That's a big reason. That's a big one.
Yes.
Why we're doing this call, and this is why I want it recorded, because I speak from my experience was exactly the same as yours, and the majority of us, I guarantee that all of us that are brain injury survivors went through the same thing. I've been doing this a long time.
Yes.
But when there's a traumatic event, everybody's there and loves you and cares about you.
Right.
But after the injury, it's like almost like a timeline. They think, okay, they'll get all better by themselves, and they don't understand the extent of what it is of a brain injury. They're not knowledgeable on it yet. And
we have discussed this. Again, I'm sorry.
Yeah, they'll do what's right for them. Sometimes they do it for a clear conscience for themselves. They did the right thing. All right, I'm done. And then they'll tell you to get over yourself, or, you know, this is a brain injury. You'll be fine. You look fine. And that's where there's a conflict there as well.
Linda, you're not alone. Me and Michael have discussed this many, many times. That people, when they're in the hospital, there's hundreds of people. And then when you get home, as you say, as time goes on, it dwindles down to 10.
Yeah, that's exactly what's happening right now.
And that's a norm to people that don't have the brain injury. But they don't understand that the people that have the brain injury are the ones that suffer. And that's why, like Michael said, we have these calls so that we can all become friendly or friends.
Yeah, there's nothing like having a friend who understands what you're going through.
Well, that's why us peers always stand together very strong.
You know, I said it before. It's not that they don't know or we can explain. It's just that the roads that we take are totally different now. The road that they take is the road that we used to take before our injury. Now that we have the injury, we have to take a whole different road.
Yeah.
Does that make sense, Linda?
Yes, it does. We're on a very lonely road.
Well, it could be, yes,
That's
it's
why
a
we're trying to
lonely.
fix that.
Yes. By having these calls, we're trying to fix it.
Yes. So there was the 4 topics. There was be informed. I'll go over the details. I'll go over them individually. Be informed but hopeful about the full impact of a brain injury, and that goes with survivors and caregivers. Number 2, explore options for home care and in-home rehabilitation. And there's a lot of things. I can even give hints on things that we could do for each other, or you could do for yourself as a brain injury survivor to help yourself out. Like I was saying, note taking, tabs. If those of you that are females, which is aside from me and Henry right now, using a lipstick and putting it on a mirror in the bathroom for a reminder. Every time you go to the bathroom, you see that reminder on the the mirror. Those are the little things that we've joked around about, but I've also gotten thank yous because that was a little simple way of reminding you of something you needed to do.
I love that.
What I do is carry a recorder.
Yes.
A tape recorder. And I leave it by my bed at nighttime, because most of the time during the night is when you think of things. At like 3 in the morning, it'll wake you up. Oh, and I just put it down on my recorder.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're
like
right
today
about that.
on my to be.
You're right about that, because it's usually at night when I go to bed, I'm replaying the day in my head, and that would be a perfect time to do that.
It's perfect.
Instead of planning your day, see, sometimes, Michael, going through your phone takes time, and someone like me, I'll forget what I was going to the phone for.
Yeah.
No, with the recorder, I just say it that fast.
With a lot of phones now, there's a voice recorder. So you could do the same thing with your phone. You could put a little shortcut on your smartphone for just to record voice.
I have that on my phone.
We have the same phone.
I do have that feature. But like I said, by the time I get to that app and do it, I forget what I was going to record. So with the recorder,
Henry, I'll send you a reminder on how to fix that button on your phone so it's easy to get
to. No, but like today, I had to remember to ask my son how his flight was, because he's in North Carolina on vacation.
Yeah.
And one of my cousins in Brooklyn went for a disabled hearing last week, and I completely forgot about it until just before it hit me. So what I did was I went to my recorder and I put down my cousin, and my son. That's how I remembered. I just record. Hi, Bridget.
Go ahead, Bridget.
I'm sorry for interrupting, but I have to leave. And I just wanted to thank you all for all that you've shared. I do have one thing else to share, and I'll try not to cry, but I cry easily, is that even though I'm not supposed to be alive, miracles happen. And I have a book now published called Discovering My Life's Purpose from Tragedy to Triumph that has helped so many surviving brain injury and others who survived anything. I give hope to people. I give lots of hope on what has worked, what wasn't helpful, but what is helpful. So if you'd like to put that on Facebook or somehow let other people know, it's the book you can order from Amazon.com or Barnes & Noble. So did you write the name? I don't know if you did. The title.
I'll have everything. I'll have everything for you.
Oh, sorry.
No, I'm telling you that even this is recorded, and we'll be able to help each other out with that.
All right, and thank you to you all, and many blessings.
Thank you. I hope to see you on Tuesday's call so we could talk some more.
I'd love it,
All right.
but I'll probably forget.
I won't let you forget, Bridget. I wrote your name and number down, so
Thank you.
thank you.
you.
Many hugs.
Thank you. Well, we got to number 2. We went over it. Okay. We got to number 2. That was explore and options for home care and in-home rehabilitation. And that was reminders and things like that. Number 3 is getting help from friends and family. That was the 3rd tip. And that's do not be afraid to ask anyone for help. If they give you a hard time, they either got to open their eyes or they've got to find a new friend or family member, because we got to advocate and stand up for each other. Nobody knows better than us survivors. Life's too short for the nonsense. And either people will be there for you and love you and care for you, or they don't care and they don't love you. It's the bottom line. It only takes 5 minutes to say, how are you? It only takes 5 minutes to say, what can I do for you? And then making time available. That's what family and friends are for. So I'm pretty stern on that one. And that's going to bring me up to my another topic, because we've only touched base on 4 things. I've got a lot more things to go over. So I'm going to add a bit to it. And of course, the 4th tip was prepare for a lifelong journey. This isn't going to fix itself overnight. This is a long-term thing, and we're here to do this together, both caregivers and survivors. Which brings me to the next topic to discuss. This is information for both caregivers and the survivors. Caregiving is no small feat. This is a lot of times those of us that are survivors, we got to open our mind too. Because we go through so much, sometimes we have a limited attention span on what the caregivers are going through as well. And like I said, caregiving is no small feat. Caregivers are giving, loving, patient people who often put other people's needs before their own. Many of the skills needed for caregiving are learned over time or through trial and error. So there's going to be good times and bad, and caregivers are going to make mistakes as well. We ask our knowledgeable and supportive Facebook people, made up of survivors, caregivers, and family members, what advice they give to new caregivers as to deal with so many of these issues every single day. I came up with 10 tips for our brain injury caregivers with a little extra advice added in. And this is from survivors. So you're getting both ends of the spectrum here. So 10 tips for brain injury caregivers with a little extra advice added in. Number 1, be glad your loved one is still with you. Be patient. Patience, persistence, and determination will help everything. Be honest about your limitations and cultivate a good sense of humor. It really helps. Number 5, stop hovering. We could pick up on your anxiety, which feeds ours. And that's big on the brain injury survivors. We're not blind and we're not stupid. We can pick up on tension around us, and it does have an impact on brain injury survivors just as much it does with a caregiver.
100% agree.
Yes. Number 6, 1 hour, 1 day, sometimes only a minute at a time is all that you could do at the time. That's about patience. Again, taking your time. Try to keep your patience. Number 7, try to keep your patience, because the repetitiveness pays off. So you might be going over the same thing and over and over, and reminders and reminders and reminders. But it's those reminders that actually embed in the people that are having memory problems to move forward. You know, you got to embed it and you got to go over it. So your patience is big, and it's a reoccurring thing, these top 10. Another thing here is pray. I'm not big on different, you know, everybody's got their own faith and religion and cultures and stuff, but you pray to somebody for help. And that's a great stress reliever. So that's an important one. Number 9 is take time out to make sure you take care of yourself so you can be the best caregiver you can be. That's a big one, and we're going to go into more details about the perspective of caregivers later on. Number 10 is build a support system and find people you can rely on when you need to, which again goes back for a survivor and a caregiver, is get help you need. Don't be too proud to ask, because everybody needs a break. You will burn yourself out. I did this interesting little research about caregivers because I've seen it, but I never had documentation on it. And I wrote down a lot of notes, and hopefully this will help out for caregivers, them helping other people, and for survivors to understand the caregiver side. Care for yourself first. This for caregivers. You're only as good as you are before you help somebody, so you can help somebody else. Here's an example, and this is a great one. I wrote this down. On an airplane, an oxygen mask descends in front of you. What do? As we all know, the first rule is put on your own oxygen mask first before you assist anyone else. Only when we first help ourselves can we be effective helping others. And that's right along the lines exactly what I was saying before. Caring for yourself is one of the most important and one of the most often forgotten things you can do as a caregiver. When your needs are taken care of, the person you care for will benefit too. And if you don't, this is a big issue, is the ramifications that go along with that. If you're not feeling well, God forbid, if you're sick, you're going to get the person you're caring for sick. That's the way things happen. It's human nature. We often hear this, my husband is the person with the neurological impairment, but now I'm the one in the hospital. Such as a situation is all too common. Researchers know a lot about the effects of caregiving on health and well-being. The combination of loss, the prolonged stress, the physical demands of caregiving, and the biological vulnerabilities that come with the responsibilities place a caregiver at risk for significant health problems as well as an early death. And I have statistics to prove this too. Older caregivers are not the only ones who put their health and well-being at risk. If you're a baby boomer who has assumed the caregiver role for your parents while simultaneously juggling work and raising adolescent children, you are faced an increased risk for depression, chronic illness, and possible decline in quality of life. But despite these risks, family caregivers of any age are less likely than non-caregivers to practice preventative health care and self-care behavior. Regardless of age, sex, and race and ethnicity, caregivers report the problems attending to their own health and well-being while managing caregivers' responsibility. This is a list, and I'm seeing this, and I see it at home. I see it on the road. I've seen this in every medical facility that I've ever worked in. They report 1, sleep deprivation. 2, poor eating habits. 3, failure to exercise. Time management. 4, failure to stay in bed when ill. 5, postponement of or failure to make medical appointments for themselves. They're so busy taking care of somebody else that they neglect their own well-being. And again, here we go back to the same aspect of what good are you to the people if you're not taking care of yourself? Here's another fact that I wrote down. Family caregivers are also at increased risk for depression, use of excessive alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs. Caregivers can be an emotional caregiving can be an emotional roller coaster. On the one hand, caregiving or caring for a family member demonstrates love and commitment and can be very rewarding personal experience. You don't have to worry about who's doing what, and we all hear stories about these other medical professionals coming to your house and doing this and doing that, and you got to worry about their hygiene, their hygiene, their personal beliefs, theft, moods, all these kinds of things. So there's good and bad to having a caregiver that you know and you trust and you grow with. On the other hand, though, exhaustion, worry, inadequate resources, and continuous care demands are also enormously stressful. Who pays the bills? When you're a family member taking care of another family member, you're giving up a social life. You're giving up, and now I'm not just talking about workers. I'm talking about family that takes care of family, a personal relationship of your own. All those kinds of things, and being able to give up your life for somebody is hard, but there's good and bad. That's what I'm making a point of, is there's great rewards when you care for somebody you love and you see them growing and moving forward and doing something with themselves, and you know that they're getting proper care. That's wonderful, but it's got to be both ends of the spectrum. You need a break. You need, a life to call your own and be proud of too.
Mm-hmm.
Caregivers are more likely to have chronic illness than are non-caregivers, namely high cholesterol, high blood pressure, and a tendency to be overweight. That's a big thing, which this is statistics. This isn't just an opinion. This is what happens from the stress, the lack of exercise, diet, and moving around, and you're stagnant sometimes. So studies show that an estimated 46% to 59% of caregivers are clinically depressed. That's devastating. You need a break. And and I'm talking to all of us, even as survivors, analyze your caregiver. Who's taking care of you? Even if you're going through Medicare and Medicaid, or you have somebody at your house as a home health aide, you get to know them, and you know their moods, and you start to get to know their personalities. You end up becoming friends because you're sharing your personal life with these other people. Tell them, do you need a break? Do you need to go and relax? Do you need 5 minutes to get your head together? Or are you sick? Because I don't want you in my house. If you're not feeling well, you need to take care of yourself. Well, I'll find somebody else, or let's find somebody else and see what we could do. This is the communication that we need to work together with caregivers. And this is a last little note that I'd like to say about caregivers is take responsibility for your own care. You cannot stop the impact of a chronic or progressive illness or debilitating injury on someone who you care for. But there is a great deal that you could do to take the responsibility of your own personal well-being and to get your own needs met. Big time. No comments? It's awfully quiet here.
Yeah, but you're done?
Oh, no, I'm not done yet.
Why no comment? Yeah, I'm filming.
Well, so far, I'm just taking a break so you guys can chit-chat, if you'd like, or comment on what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm just thinking if maybe that's the reason that they back off so quickly.
Some do and some don't. It depends on the level of the person. I know some caregivers that are head over heels because this is the most important person in their lives, and they're not getting involved, or they're not taking some time for themselves because they just want to do what's right for somebody else. And that's hard. There's one end of the spectrum or the other. And I know from my own experience, one end of my family, and Henry's heard me say this countless times, I've got some family members that say, you're fine, you look fine, get over it, you're good, there's nothing wrong with you, I don't see anything wrong with you. But they're 1,500 or 2,000 miles away.
Right.
And then I got other family members that are like, oh, poor Mike, he's not the same person he used to be. It'll be
Right.
okay. We'll work on this together. But then when you need them, where are they?
Right.
So it goes both
I've always
Have-
I've always been the strong one in the family. I'm the oldest of 6 kids.
Yeah, me too.
I held a high-profile job, so I've always been looked at as a source of strength. And and like I said in the beginning, there was quite a bit of support. It was very short-lived, but now it's completely disappeared, and it's like, I should be fine by now. It's almost like I had a cold.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't understand that it's not something you just get over. It's not short term. This is a big deal. And it's a life-changing event. Nobody, regardless of brain injury, is the same person they were yesterday. But then with the brain injury, it's much more complex. And they've got to understand that,
Well, I think it's also, I'll say it again, I've said before too, that we also become a whole different person, and that we have to also recognize that, which a lot of the times it takes time to recognize, but other people recognize it faster than we do, for the most part. And that comes to the thing of direction, that we want to go in a different directions.
Yeah.
Does it make sense?
Yeah. Well.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Just again, because a lot of the time I talk gibberish. I know what I mean, but sometimes I can't say it. That's why I always say, does it make sense?
I don't think you talk gibberish.
No, you don't know me that well. No, sometimes I do, Linda, but thank you. No,
I
not
know.
gibberish.
I've known Henry
No,
a long
not gibberish. I'll make things that don't make sense sometimes. So that's why he asked, it doesn't make sense.
I think you do fine,
don't-
Henry.
Thank you.
So there's another little topic I'd like to bring up, and that's identifying personal barriers. And this is one that we don't touch base on quite often enough. Many times attitudes and beliefs from personal barriers that stand in the way of caring for yourself. Not taking care of yourself may be a lifelong pattern, with taking care of others is an easier option. And that's what I was saying before about giving up your own life for somebody else. However, as a family caregiver, you may ask yourself, what good will I be to a person if I care for if I become ill or if I die? That's ridiculous. Breaking old patterns and overcoming obstacles is an easy proposition, but it can be done. Regardless to your age or your situation, the first task in removing personal barriers to self-care is to identify what's in your way. For example, do you think you're being selfish to put your needs first? Is it frightening to think of your own needs? What is that kind of fear about? Do you have trouble asking for what you need? Do you feel inadequate if you ask for help? And do you feel you have to prove that you're worthy of the care recipient's affection? Do you do too much as a result? This is like unheard of, but from caregivers, they do say these things because like right in the beginning, the first one, do you think you're being selfish if you put your needs first? This goes back to what I was saying before. Well, I don't want you in my house if you're going to come in my house because you've got a cold because you didn't get enough rest and your immune system is shot. And I think all of us that are survivors that need a home health aide or something like that will agree with the same thing. But you can't be too proud because your care as a caregiver, you taking care of yourself is only as good as what you could pass on to the people you're caring for.
Right.
Sometimes caregivers have misconceptions that increase their stress and that get in the way of good self-care. Here are some of the most commonly expressed ones. I'm responsible for my parents' health. Yeah, but what good are you if you're not taking care of yourself, to your parents? If I don't do it, no one will. Well, if that's the case, you need to get more help or different help. That's my little idea on that one. If I do it right, I will get love, attention, and respect I deserve. If you got to be sick and run yourself to the ground to get attention and respect and love from the people you're taking care of, like if it's a family member or a loved one, if that's what you got to do, you've got a really serious relationship problem. Because just as it is for the caregivers to feel love and respect and attention, it's equally as important for the caregiver to get that too, because of what the caregiver is giving up for that person they love. It should be mutual. But you shouldn't have to do that to get love and attention and respect. That should be coming naturally. If there's a situation there, you both should be going to a therapist and maybe family counseling together if that's the case.
Agreed.
Another one is the most commonly expressed notion from caregivers. Our family always takes care of their own. That is crazy.
Yes.
All of us that are survivors know the same perspective. Where's your family when you need them the most?
Gone.
They're doing their own thing.
Yep.
So it's hard. It's hard for family to just, family takes care of their own. You're lucky you've got one person out of a group of 20 people in a family that actually helps somebody with who's a survivor. It's very, very difficult. Oh, I got some more comment here. Here's another one. I promised my mother or father I would always take care of them. You could promise, and that's always with great intent, but family's got to help family. Somebody's got to be there for you so you could be better at taking care of them. It's a double-edged sword, you could help each other, but you need a break, The
best way I can put it is that no, never mind.
Okay. Well, because we base our behavior on our own thoughts and beliefs, attitudes and misconceptions like those noted above can cause caregivers to continually attempt to do what they cannot be done and try to control what cannot be controlled. The result is feeling and continued failure and frustration, and very often an inclination to ignore your own needs as a caregiver.
Now I'm going to say super. Now I'm going to say what I want to say. Because what you're talking about now is now I'm going to say it. We were at 10. And we had a brain injury was brought it back down to a 1. We had to work our way back up to a 10. Mm-hmm. But the caregivers, family members, or whatever, don't realize that we're trying the best we can. They expect us to try harder, or do more, or understand more, and we don't. And I think that's what causes animosity between caregivers, family, and so on.
Right.
Am I right?
Yeah. You can't go, they expect you to go from a 1 to an 8 in a matter of months.
Right. Correct.
You were at a 10, you went down to a 1, they expect you, it only takes 6 months or a year.
Right. But it took me 30 years to get to a 10. Now you want me to do it in a few months?
Yeah, you're right. Yep. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, you hit the nail right on the head.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
We all get it.
That's
all gotten it. I just read an email that I found from 7 years ago from somebody who I was friends with for 20 years that said, Mike, blah, 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 about your brain injury. Get over yourself. Enough with this nonsense and everything else. You're fine. Well, this just showed their ignorance because first off, I've never got over myself because I've used everything I've gone to have thousands of people that we're helping out all over the country. And I'm still learning to this day, and this is 14 years later, of things that I could do to get better neurologically and, cognitively, to always improve. So it's always an ongoing battle, and that's life. It's no big deal. It doesn't down me. It just helps me move forward.
Right. There's just such a big misconception of somebody who has a brain injury and from what they used to not what they used to be.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a misconception on the caregivers and family members. You don't get it.
This brings me up to the next topic that I wanted to bring up, and that's moving forward. And what we're saying, living in the past and moving ahead. Once you started to identify any personal barriers to good self-care, you can begin to change your behavior. This goes for brain injuries, the survivors and the caregivers. You can begin to change your behavior, moving forward one small step at a time. Following are some effective tools for self-care that you could start your own way. And I'm glad I'm recording this because you guys will want to write this down so you can listen to it again. Tool number one, reducing personal stress. How we perceive and respond to an event is a significant factor on how we adjust and cope with it. All of us brain injury survivors, the first thing they tell you is realization and coping. The stress you feel is not only the result of your caregiving situation or the brain injury, like survivor situation, but also the result of your perception of it. Whether you see the glass as half full or half empty, it is important to remember that you're not alone in your experiences. The level of stress includes many factors, including whether your caregiving or support services are voluntary. If you feel you had no choice in taking on the responsibilities or the circumstances leading up to your brain injury, the chances are greater that you will experience strain, distress, and resentment. And that's very common with brain injury survivors because either they resent themselves, they could have done something different, or depending on how it happened, especially if it was a fall or a car accident, could have been somebody else's fault. What is it going to do? It's just going to cause more stress for you. Right. Your relationship with the care recipient, whether it's a caregiver or a family member or a loved one. Sometimes people who care for one another with the hope of healing a relationship. If your healing does not occur, you may feel regret and discouragement. That's not going to work. You need to work together, not point fingers at each other. That's never going to help anything. Which brings us to the next one, and that's coping abilities. How you cope with the stress in the past predicts how you will cope and identify now. Identifying your current coping strengths so you can build on them. All that goes for everybody. Where you concentrate on the positive so you could move forward. And another thing is whether or not support is available. That's a huge one. Reducing personal stress. The last one is a hard, very, very difficult thing because if you're going to get help, sometimes you're going to get it when you don't. Sometimes you're not going to get it when you do. You got to kind of level it out and you say, okay, I just got to accept things for where they are now. Let's take a step back, take a deep breath, chill out, relax, and think. Because there's things that you can't control. Let me see what else. I got so many notes here. That's reducing the personal stress, like internally and stuff. This is a big one for I shouldn't say just survivors. This is a big one for survivors. And but it goes with just about anybody. It's steps to managing stress. How many do I have here? 3, 4. Yeah, 4 different things here that all goes along with the same. It's like an underlying thing about reducing personal stress. So it's a little helpful hint is recognizing warning signs early. These might include like irritability, sleep problems, and forgetfulness. You know your warning signs, and you have to act to make changes. But don't wait until you're overwhelmed. That's waiting way too long, because then you end up with the impulse control issues, because you're so overwhelmed and your emotions and your body and your mind are overdoing it, that when you do say something, it comes out completely the wrong way. And like I said, that goes on with caregivers, that goes on with survivors as well. Number 2 is identifying the sources of stress. Ask yourself, what is causing the stress for me? Like step back and take a look at yourself. Sources of stress might be that you have too much to do, family disagreements, feelings of inadequacy, or the inability to say no. We all need to be able to say no. That's a big one. That's a big, big thing for even a caregiver. But some of us who are survivors, we want to keep going and moving. You got to be able to say no. You have to be able to say no and step back and let things settle down. Number 3, identify what you can and cannot change. Remember, we can only change ourselves. We cannot change another person's perspective. When you try to change things over which you have no control, you will only increase your sense of frustration and the tension in the area. Ask yourself, what do I have some control over? What can I change? Even a small change can make a difference. The challenge we face as our caregivers and survivors is well expressed in the following words, modified from the original Serenity Prayer. And this is attributed to an American theologist. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. That's a huge thing that a lot of people neglect and forget about, because you get so overwhelmed by the moment that you don't take the time to say, I can't do nothing about this, or I can't do nothing about this. It's out of my hands. It might be frustrating and aggravating, but don't let it consume you, because you can't do anything about somebody else's opinion. People could think what they want to think, and do and make plans and things like that. There is always disappointment because you can't join somebody doing something you want to do, or something that you used to be able to do, you want to do. But you can't change that now. You got to accept things for the way they are. And the only thing you could change is your own perspective, the way you feel. I talk about it on our conference calls all the time. You could bump your toe and it could ruin your day. Or you could bump your toe and be like, okay, and you find a distraction to get over it and preoccupy your time. It depends on how you want to dwell on something. Everything. Take control of the situation, what you can control. And that's what we're discussing there in number 3. Number 4 is take action. Taking some action to reduce stress gives us back a sense of control, which is what I was saying about distracting or doing something different to kind of change your things, change your mind. Stress reducers can be as simple as activities as like walking or other forms of exercise, gardening. Like Henry will tell you, dogs, pets is a great stress reliever. Get your mind off things. Having coffee with a friend. I'm notorious for that. And I identify with some stress reducers that will work for you. Anything. So that was all part of tool number 1. Do you want me to go over where I started off on that? Because that was a whole lot of talking. Tool number 1 was reducing personal stress. That was effective tools for self-care that you could start on your own. So that was tool number 1. Anything? Should I move forward?
Yes, go ahead.
Number 2, and this is one that I went over with when I was working with children with special needs, and I also do it with families and even us survivors, is setting goals, short-term and long-term goals. Setting goals are decided on what you can do to accomplish in the next 3 to 6 months. To me, that's short-term goals. And it's an important tool for taking care of yourself. Here are some samples you might set. Take a break from everything. Just take a break. Chill out. Get help with tasks like doing things around the house, cooking, cleaning. Even if you want to organize something, getting help to do it. You know, that's also a good mindset for a caregiver or a loved one to just, you sit and you just chill, playing cards, that kind of thing. That's cool, you know. Engage in activities that'll make you feel more healthy. That's a big one. We have a lot of people that are survivors that they have a problem with the equilibrium and they want to exercise, but they say they can't do anything because of their balance issues and stuff. And Henry has heard me say it, and I've done it, you know, we've worked on this together with other people, is lay on your back, put your feet up and kick. It helps your circulation. It helps your body movement. It's fun. It is exhausting. It also helps out your core of your body. It helps the circulation from your feet up to your heart, your head. There's all like little types of things. Even if you have a walker and you can't, you know, work without it, if it's nice, not now like now, but if you want to take a walk around a block with the walker, it doesn't matter that you need assistance. It's exercise. It's something to get you making feel better about yourself. Goals are generally too big to work on all at once. That's why I said making short ones is better. We're all more likely to reach a goal if we break it down into smaller action steps. Once you set a goal, ask yourself, what steps do I take to reach my long-term goal? And we talk about reading and writing after a brain injury, and a little bit at a time, you know, just helps things. Reading out loud, that helps people with speech impediments. Memory issues is also reading and writing as you're going along. But these are all like making an action plan, deciding which step you'll take first, and then getting started on doing it. We lost somebody. I'm not sure who. Oh, okay. I don't know who that was. Okay. Tool number 3, seeking solutions. Seeking solutions to difficult situations is, of course, one of the most important tools you can use. Once you've identified a problem, take action to solve it. You can change the situation, also change your attitude to a more positive one, to be more confidence in your abilities. An example of that is, if you don't know something, look it up and research it. I mean, we all have access to online services, and there's credible ones and there's ones that aren't credible. That's something what we can help out as an organization, you know, with our website and stuff, or contacting one another, is finding credible resources to be able to move forward. And if you see something that's working for a lot of people and you're getting credible resources that, you know, help other people with brain injuries or caregiving, both sides, different, what's the word? Different routes to take to actually meet a goal, that'll help you keep a positive mindset. I can do this. I can move forward. And it can help the situation and your attitude, because a positive reinforcement is always the best way to keep your mindset on going forward. And that goes again, steps for seeking those solutions. Identify the problem, look at the situation with an open mind. The real problem might not be what it comes first to mind. For example, you think that the problem is simple, where you're tired all the time, when your most basic difficulty is your belief no one can care for me like I can, or nobody could care for, you know, as yourself, as a brain injury, so nobody can care for me like I know I can. That may not be true. Or nobody could care for my mom and dad like I can. What's the problem? Thinking you can do everything by yourself. That's a big one. Then number two is what I was just mentioning before, is list the possible solutions. One idea is to try a different perspective. Even though someone else tries to provide help in a different way than I can, it can be just as good. Ask a friend to help. Call a family caregiver alliance, or, well, depending on where you're located, you might have to call Medicare and Medicaid, here in the United States. You might have to call a caregiver service that you have. There's all different things that you could do to, or family members. You have to be able to be able to call somebody.
Good. Don't worry about that. That won't be good. No, I'm saying.
Oh, somebody's got company.
Sorry, Mike. Sorry.
It's okay. But after you've come up with that list, select one solution at a time and try them out and see where you can go from there. And then when you do, you can evaluate the results. You can ask yourself how well your choice worked. If not, then try a second solution if your first idea didn't work. And then you try another. And it's always building. And then as you're going along, you're finding, you're fine tuning what's working, what didn't work, and you troubleshoot things together. So, and if nothing,
going back.
Oh, go ahead, Henry.
Going back to what you said before about laying on the back and moving your legs and all that stuff.
Yeah.
That is the reason why I moved back to New York. Because when I was in New Jersey, I had no, there was nothing out there for me for someone that don't drive. Mm-hmm. And the transportation out there stunk. Mm-hmm. Me being back here in Staten Island, it enables me to, like you said, take walks, do my own thing at my pace. And that means a lot. Mm-hmm. It means a lot, the positive input.
You're right.
For myself, the self-awareness of accomplishment. Mm-hmm. Like tomorrow, I'm doing two things. Now, if I was in Jersey, I would not be doing that. Mm-hmm. So, yes, as you say, the keep moving means a lot.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
That's all.
That's all.
I want to set them before forget.
Yeah. So I went through the steps for seeking solutions to help fix a situation that you might come across. And we went through 1, 2, 3, 4. The last one was, 5, 6. It was find a solution. If it doesn't work, then try another one. Evaluate the results. Try a second solution. And you can keep going. And as you're going through those different resources and then talking to families and things like that, if nothing seems to help, to accept that the problem may not be solvable right now, something that you can't do, you can revisit it another time. You have to keep in mind patience, because something you can't attack at one time, if you have an impairment in one area, it doesn't mean that you can't, you get frustrated and you give up. You just go back to it at another time. That's really it. All too often we jump from one step all the way to another one, and then they feel defeated and stuck. You concentrate on keeping an open mind while listening and experimenting with other possible solutions to fix, one thing. If there's some of us that have ailments in a lot of different areas, and when one doesn't work, you say, okay, let me do something else. Or you find something that you are good at and you get a nice reward. If you are you're not good at reading and remembering things, but you do love your movies, or something like that, you can do that. Or if you want to watch sports, you could do that. Or you're good at playing cards, you could do that. Or drawing. There's a lot of little things you can do to revert and say, okay, and you can go back and troubleshoot it in a different way. And the biggest tool, this one's huge to me because I never shut up, is communicating. This is another tool. This is tool number 4, and that's communicating constructively. Being able to communicate constructively is one of the caregivers and survivors' most important tools. When you communicate in ways that are clear, assertive, constructive, you will be heard and get the support you need. The box I have right here below shows basic guidelines for good communication. This is a big one. It is something that caregivers and survivors both need to change the way they talk to each other. And use I messages rather than you messages. Saying I feel angry rather than you made me angry enables you to express your feelings without blaming somebody else.
It should be. What
That's a big
if
one.
somebody doesn't give you the time that you need to express that?
Well, then you give them the time. You that's an easy way. When they don't give you a time, you don't respond back to them. You turn your head.
Okay.
They'll pick up the messages that you're like, You take.
And what if they don't?
If they don't,
Right.
you tell them, when you can give me a chance to speak to you, I'll reply back.
Right.
You put them right in their place. You don't have to be aggressive while still being assertive.
Right.
When you give me a chance to talk, then let me know and I'll get back to you. Okay? That's what you do. It's passive aggressive. Like I said,
I used to do that when I was in my wheelchair. That when people did not give me the time to talk, I'd roll away.
Yep.
And they just say, go ahead, roll away, Henry. Go ahead, roll away.
Well, again, they prove themselves. They really show their real colors. So,
right.
I want to go over this real quick, and then we'll go over more details. You did it when you want to you interrupted. So, but I don't mind. Again, use I messages rather than you messages. Saying I feel angry rather than you make me angry enables you to express your feelings without blaming others or causing them to feel defensive. And that happens a lot. Instead of when somebody's going, you, what happens to you, you start going, well, and you start attacking back because it's a defense mechanism. Another thing too, number 2, respect the rights and feelings of others. Do not say something that'll violate another person's right or intentionally hurt the person's feelings. Recognize that the other person has the right to express their feelings too. You say, okay, and then you can give your perspective on it. You let them say what they want to say because it's their own viewpoint, and everybody, including us, are all entitled to their own views. And it also allows a mutual respect that you're respecting the other person's ignorance. No, you're respecting their viewpoint, and so therefore they respect yours. And if, like Henry was saying before, if they don't, it's time to move on with the conversation somewhere else.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. This one's a little harder for some of us that are brain injury survivors, and that's be clear and specific. Sometimes you might have to go over something in a couple times and say, maybe I didn't come across, like Henry said before, maybe I didn't come across the right way. Let me touch base on this again so you understand where I'm coming at. So being clear and specific is a good thing, but sometimes it's not so easily accomplished, right? Speak directly to the person though. Don't hint or hope the person will guess what you need. You keep going over it if you have to, like I was saying before. Other people are not mind readers. When you speak directly about what you need or you feel, you're taking the risk that the other person might disagree or say no to your request. But that action also shows respect for the other person's opinion. When both parties speak directly, the chances of reaching understanding is greater. And that's a great thing, is both being able to speak each other's sides. So you can accomplish a mutual understanding. You could understand the disagree, but you're still understanding each other's perspectives, bottom line, good or bad. And that goes back to this next thing, and that's be a good listener. Listening is the most important aspect of communication. When you listen, a lot of times people are listening while they're processing the information. They're already thinking of what they're going to respond to, what they're, what was just said or what's being said. If you stop and you listen to the person's entire message and give them a chance, and this goes for survivors and caregivers, absorb the information first before you respond. Don't think of a response while somebody else is talking.
Okay, excuse me.
That's a hard one.
What you do is, what you do in my case, you can say A, B, C, D and keep going, but I don't process it that fast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So somebody would have to say A, B, C, D, I process it, then they can go on. But what if somebody just keeps going on while you're not processing it? And you tell them.
Well, you should. That's a big thing with the proper communication and them listening to you and you're listening to them is
Right.
if you say, if they're listing 5 things and you're only getting the number 2 and you're still processing it and they're still going on, you could say right off the bat, as soon as they're going over the 5 things, you say, I didn't get all that. Let's slow down and start. Let me see if I got this correctly. And you go for more from there. And that's a big one. Susan and I talk about that all the time because I have trouble with that. If somebody talks over when I'm thinking or talking about something, I lose my train of thought in a heartbeat. Except from when you do it, Henry. No, I'm just joking. but
I'm sorry, man.
No. But what I'm saying is especially when something's it's a hot topic and you're discussing something with, say, just a family member, because family is more, emotional than anything else is. And you're going over a hot topic in family, you're trying to get your point across when somebody else is talking. You have to step back and say, slow down. Slow down. I'm not getting everything you said because I didn't get a chance to speak what I was thinking. And we need to go over this so we can both communicate together. It's really relaxing a situation. That's proper communication. Relaxing a situation so you both have a chance to absorb and get both points across. And that's a big thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Now that leads us to tool number 5. When people have asked if they can be of any help to you, how often have you replied, no, thank you, I'm fine? Many survivors and caregivers don't know how to marshal the goodwill of others and are reluctant to ask for help. You may not wish to burden others or admit that you can't handle everything by yourself. Be prepared with a mental list of ways that others could help you. For example, if you could take care of the person you care for or yourself and go on a 15-minute walk a couple times a week, that's going to help you so much. That's what we were just talking about, Henry, before. Your neighbor could pick you up a few things for you. A family member could do things for you if you can't do it. A relative can help you fill out with some paperwork. Something like that is huge for both caregivers and survivors.
Yes.
It's so overwhelming. When you break down big jobs into little jobs, into very small tasks, it's easier for people to help you out.
Yes.
Yeah. And they do want to help you out. It's up to you to tell them. That's communication for everybody. So I have tips on how to ask. Consider a person's special abilities and interests. If you know a friend who enjoys cooking but dislikes driving, your chances of getting help improve if you ask for help with the meal preparation. Resist asking resist asking the same person repeatedly. Do you keep asking the same person because she has trouble saying no? If somebody has trouble saying no to you and they just keep doing the same thing and you see it's mentally exhausting them, be somewhat considerate and all right, I'm not going to ask them again, you know, or, you know, maybe we could do something else. So I could do this and you could do that, you know, that kind of thing. Another thing too, which is huge, is whether you're a survivor or a caregiver, coming up with like preparing a list of things that might need to be done. Errands, yard work, visit with a loved one, cooking, cleaning, doing something fun together. You know, a list is something that you could aim at. Doing something to look forward to. You know, everybody likes to have a chance to relax and chill out. You ask them, you say, you want to do, what do you like? You know, if you like basketball, the game's coming on at 8 o'clock. Let's do this stuff so we can have a good time later on. You could just chill out afterwards. You know, that kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I have a question.
Okay.
If you ask somebody, if somebody offers, how do you say, like whether you need a tea, and you have a certain brand you drink,
Mm-hmm.
and the person knows the kind of tea you drink. So that means when they ask you if you need that tea, you say, good, you pick it up for me. And they bring you something totally different, what they say that's all they had. Now, how do you react to that? Or how should you think?
You should be patient, because that's a tough one. Yeah, that's a tough
Yes.
one.
Yes.
Because if they know you, but their intent is still there,
Right.
there's a lot of different things you could say, you know. Thank you. I appreciate, you could say, I appreciate you trying.
But
the next time that you go back, can you bring this one with you and see if they have another one? You know, the one that I like, because I really don't like that, or I can't drink that because it bothers my stomach.
Right.
They can't argue that, you know. You could say something
right.
like, so you could put it in a nice way, but constructively, it's constructive criticism. You could say,
Right.
I appreciate the help, but, you know, maybe
Right.
next time we could do something else.
You put that button, or hover may break loose. As soon as you put that button.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, you just got to remember patience, man.
Yes.
Well, it's funny because here I was talking about be prepared for hesitance or refusal by people. It can be upsetting for a caregiver or a survivor when a person is unable or unwilling to help. But in the long run, it'll do more harm to the relationship if a person helps out because he or she doesn't want to upset you. Because that'll just build up, you know. It's easier for us who are survivors to step back, like we were just talking, me and Henry were just talking about, is stepping back and saying, why don't you think about it? You know, instead it gives them an opportunity to roll it over in their head. If you want to do something, you ask them for help, and they will do it only because it'll shut you up.
Right.
Eventually that's going to progress, and that's going to
That happens a lot.
mention. Yeah.
A lot that I've noticed.
Well,
that,
go ahead.
oh, sorry. Go ahead, Mike.
No, but I was going to make a suggestion for a survivor, or either end, is try not to take it personally when a request is turned down. The person who you're turning down the task, the person is turning down the task, but they're not turning down you. You know, try not to let a refusal prevent you from asking for help again. The person who refused to today may be happy to help you at another time.
Correct.
So you never know their reasoning. And that's another thing with building communication, is ask questions. You ask, is this too much? Or is this going to be, you know, do you have plans? If you don't want to do it, that's fine. You know, don't worry about it. We can maybe work something out the next time or something like that. You always got to kind of go both ways, you know. But don't let overwhelming or impulse control get the best of you because of the frustration that you can't get what you want when you need it.
Right.
We're all looking for help. So, let me see. Avoid weakening your request. That's what along the lines of what I was just saying. It's only a thought, but would you consider staying with grandma while I go to the store? This sounds like it's not a very important to you, but use I statements to make a specific request. I'd like to go to the store on Sunday. I would like to go to the store on Sunday. Would you stay with grandma from like 9 a.m. to like noon? Those are the little things instead of like, I would like to do this. Would you mind doing that? You know, or something like that. So that's a big one. Let's see, we got to move forward because we're running a little short here on time. Let's see what I got here.
I think that's a lot to take in, Mike, right now.
Well, that's why I'm recording this, so it'll be viewable later, and you can go over and pause it and stuff like that.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I'm dying to read it.
I know you're going to listen to it. I didn't write all this. I mean, some of this I'm writing, some of it I wrote, but some of it is, it's all going to be recorded. So I have a lot of different, there was more things that I had on here too that I don't even know if we have a chance to go over. But it'll be from, it'll be recorded so you can listen to it at another time. And actually the next topic was another tool. And this one I might do it our own next show on.
But how would you listen to a recording?
Oh, I'll put it on YouTube, and then I put it on our website to be able to listen to later.
That's what I thought. I thought it was on YouTube.
Yeah, I do them on there, and I also put the links on the website. This next one, I'm going to bring it up, but I think we're going to do this on the next show, and that's learning from our emotions. Because we talk about that, and emotions take over so many things of our day-to-day life. So
yes.
A lot. So,
yeah, but a lot of that can be helped.
Oh, there can be helped in a lot of different ways. There's a lot of ways.
I'm saying the spur of the moment.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
A lot of it can be helped.
Yeah. Yeah. So we got through a good 5 out of the 8 that I was going to go into, but that's good. And we'll have part 2 in 2 weeks. And
there you go.
Finish up more. But I appreciate you guys joining in, and I'll have this online shortly. And I appreciate you all joining.
Thank you very much, Michael. I don't know what I'd do without you. This means so much to me.
I'm glad you were finally able to make it. Hopefully you could join in on Tuesday's call now.
I will. I might need a reminder because short-term memory is an issue for me.
Okay.
All right. Did you send out a Facebook reminder or something? Something made me dial in tonight.
Yeah, I sent them out all day. So that's why. Yeah.
Yeah, if you could do that maybe more than once, that works.
Yeah, no, I send them out every day, so that's fine. Don't worry.
I have a question, Linda. Are you using your phone?
Yeah.
Is that your cell phone?
Yeah, it's our iPhone.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Live phone, but I have.
iPhone, if I'm not mistaken, go to reminders.
Oh, yeah. I'll have somebody help me figure out how to do that.
Okay. Or you can always look on our website. You can look at our website every day and look at the calendar, and I update the calendar constantly. So it'll always be up to date with the current, like, next conference that's coming up.
All right. I'm going to go bookmark that right now.
All right, dear.
All right. Thank you again, Michael. I really appreciate this.
Thank you. What's
you
that?
You definitely get some help with the iPhone.
Okay, I'll get
in the long run that you do it on your own.
I know. I'll go find my grandson can probably do it.
There you go.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Have a good night, everyone.
All right. Good night.
Good night.
Crystal, you're on, and I know you can hear me. Message me on Facebook, okay, hon? Thanks.
Okay. I can't.